Your party leader, Chuck Schumer, says he's moving, quote, full speed ahead with this package. Will he have your vote?
And that's fine. He can. He will not have my vote on 3.5, and Chuck knows that. And we've talked about this. We've already put out 5.4 trillion, and we've tried to help Americans in every way we possibly can. And a lot of the help that we put out there is still there, and it's going to run clear until next year, 2022. What's the urgency? What's the urgency that we have? It's not the same urgency that we have with the American Rescue Plan. We got that out the door quickly. That was about $2 billion, $2 trillion. And on top of that, all the things we put out with the CARES package, everything leading up to that. So we have done an awful lot, and there's still an awful lot of people that need help. But you have 11 million jobs that aren't filled right now. 8 million people are still unemployed. Something's not matching up. Don't you think we ought to hit the pause and find out the vulnerability that we have, Dana, right now? We don't know what happened with this COVID. It's awful coming back the way it is with a vengeance. We don't know about inflation. We know it's running rampant right now. I can tell you in West Virginia, inflation's running rampant. And on top of that, the challenges we're going to have, geopolitical challenges. Shouldn't we be prepared?
So I want to ask you about a lot of that, but are you saying it's the price tag, it's the timeline, both?
It's the urgency. Do we have the urgency to do what they're wanting to do in such a quick period of time?
But can you be specific? Okay, let's talk about the dollar sign.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific number in mind?
Here's a number you should be getting to. First of all, I have agreed to get on to the reconciliation because that's the time for us to make financial adjustments and changes. I thought the 2017 tax code and tax law, the way it was changed, was very, very, very unfair, and it was weighted to the wealthy.
So what's the number?
And the bottom line is, what the number would be, what's going to be competitive in our tax code. I believe that the corporate rate should be at 25, not 21.
But what's the overall number for the budget bill?
I think that you're going to have to look at it and find out what you're able to do through a reasonable, responsible way.
So then how do you know that it's not 3.5?
It's going to be at 1, 1.5. We don't know where it's going to be.
So you think ballpark 1.5?
It's not going to be at 3.5, I can assure you. But with that, whatever it is, once you have a competitive tax code that you can compete globally, and then you should look at what the need is. What's the urgency and the need that we have?
And I want to get to that, but just because this is the thing that people consume. Do you have a ceiling?
My ceiling is this: the need of the American people, and for us to basically take in consideration inflation. No one's concerned about the debt. Our debt as of Friday was $28.7.5 trillion. And we're not even talking about that. No one's talking about that.
You just said 1.5. It sounds like 1.5
I'm just saying that basically, I've looked at the numbers. If we have a competitive tax code from a non-competitive, it doesn't help the working person that was done in 2017, that's in the 1.5 range, okay? If that's where it is, shouldn't you be looking at what does it take now to meet the urgent needs that we haven't already met?
Okay, so let's talk about how this would be paid for. The White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, told me on this show last week that you are, quote, very persuadable on this budget bill because he says it will be paid for. It won't add to the debt. It won't add to inflation.
Well, if you're paying for it with inflated numbers from the standpoint, is the tax code, the numbers that they're wanting to pay for it, and the tax changes they want to make, is that competitive? Does it keep us competitive or not? I believe there's some changes made that does not keep us competitive.
Meaning don't increase taxes on corporations?
No, I want to increase taxes on corporations. I've spoken to corporations.
So what specifically are you saying?
I want the wealthy to pay their fair share. But if you're up higher to the point to where you are that can be competitive globally, then it's going to be counterproductive. Everyone's looking at this in a whole complete different way than I think maybe I am or other people, or the people are just keeping quiet. The bottom line is, do we have the urgency to spend another $3.5 trillion right now? The most urgent thing that we have to do is get the bipartisan infrastructure bill that's gone left unattended for over 30 years, deferred maintenance throughout every part of our nation. That's the one. The president went out and campaigned on that. That's his bill. We worked it in a bipartisan way, got 19 Republicans to vote for it. That's the bill that should go out immediately.
Okay, and you have another side of this negotiation and some of your fellow Democrats, which I want to get to in a second, but let's just stay on what they call here in Washington the pay-fors, how your fellow Democrats want to pay for this. They're looking at increasing the corporate tax rate, closing existing loopholes, raising taxes on wealthy Americans, trying to get money back from, get the IRS to get money back.
I agree with all of that. I agree with all of that.
And they say they can add that up to 3.5 and there will be not a dollar. This is what they're saying.
I understand, but we just disagree.
You just don't believe them?
No, I don't believe them. I'm just saying that those rates are not going to be competitive to find out the money. Here's the difference. They're looking for 3.5 trillion. I'm looking for a competitive tax rate. Okay, I want to make the adjustments and changes. They're looking for basically.
What does
finding
competitive
3.5.
tax rate mean? Can you
Globally
define it?
competitive. Then you have to be globally competitive.
Right,
you can't be.
But can you
First of all, you
explain?
can't be at 39% as far as capital gains. I said 28 all in. Okay, you can't be at 28 or 30 or more with a corporate net. I've said 25 all in, and I think that every corporation should pay a minimum of 15%. They should all pay something. I believe in that. But the bottom line is the need that we have. You understand they put no restrictions whatsoever or qualifications on any of this as means testing of the need of the people, the means testing. How many people have you had talk to you that said, they're sending me checks, I don't know why? We've all heard that.
Okay, I want to get to some of the specifics in this in a second, but you just said that you want to get the infrastructure bill that you helped to negotiate, a bipartisan infrastructure bill. It passed the Senate. You want to get it
and the
through
White House was very much
and the White
involved
House
from every day.
But as you well know, dozens of House progressives are saying no, they're not going to vote for your infrastructure deal until you support what we're talking about here, the overall budget bill, which has a lot of the president's agenda, a lot of Democrats' agenda in it. By digging in your heels on this, aren't you dooming your own infrastructure bill?
Who's digging in the heels here? From the first of all, the infrastructure bill has been passed, okay? You have a bipartisan bill with 19 Republicans. Who thought that could happen? Who thought that? And, you know, we worked hard on that for many, many months. And the president's team was very much involved. And the president went out and sold this around the country. Why would you basically let the perfect be the enemy of the good? You have a bill right now. I'm not saying we're not going to get to a reconciliation bill whenever.
But they have leverage.
The urgency now.
I guess they have
Well, if they
leverage.
go home and tell.
Just like you have leverage. They're using their leverage, the House progressives, just like you are.
That's fine. And if they can go home and tell people that, hey, I don't care about the roads and bridges, you don't need it. I don't care about internet service, you don't need that. I don't care about fixing water and sewer lines. I don't care about the hard infrastructure that's deferred for the last 30 years. I don't care about any of that. I can't go home and say that in West Virginia. We need all of that. We have the worst bridges in the country.
Do you take this threat seriously by the progressives?
They'll have to do what they have to do. I mean, I'm not involved with the House and the House rules or any of that. Okay, they're going to do what they think is best. And if they play politics with the needs of America, I can tell you, America will recoil.
And they say you're playing politics.
I don't think so. But the bottom line is, if it's such good politics and they think 3.5 trillion, why are they rushing it now? Why don't they use that for political?
All right, let's talk about what's in
campaign trail and say, elect for me, and we'll spend 3.5.
Let's talk about some of the specifics, because I want to get to the substance of what we're talking about here, because I don't think that gets enough attention. What President Biden and the Democrats say is the child tax credit, which has been expanded, make it permanent. They're saying it's already having a major impact on poverty and hunger for children. Do you support making it permanent?
Well, I support child tax credits. I sure am trying to help the children.
But the expansion
Let's talk about this before you start saying, is it going to be permanent, this and that?
Yeah.
Let's see how we're doing. Let's make sure that we're getting it to the right people. Let's make sure the people on poverty. I can tell you, people that are working and working poor, making every effort they can to get ahead in life, that's in that 50,000 and below. I've got people that making combined 200 and 300 and more up to 400 saying they're getting checks. You know, if we have X amount
But
of
it's on
dollars,
a sliding scale. They shouldn't be doing that.
well, it's happening, though. This is happening because of the sliding scale. It's 75 and 150 with a sliding fee up to 400, okay? These are things that there's hard caps to be put. The need-based, we're not having anything about need-based. We're not doing any type of that. And first of all, child tax credits. Think about this. If it's child tax credit, you want to help the children and the parents that are basically providing for those children. There's no work requirements whatsoever. There's no education requirements whatsoever for better skill sets. Don't you think if we're going to help the children, that the people should make some effort?
So let's talk about universal pre-K. West Virginia, your home state.
I've been all for that. I'm all in.
You want to make it a federal program.
It's fine to be federal, but the states can do it too, and the states have a responsibility.
But should universal pre-K be in a bill like this that you would support?
I don't have a problem because I support universal pre-K.
Okay, what about increasing funding for home care services for the sick and elderly?
We have $60 billion hasn't gone out the door yet. $60 billion. The only thing I'm saying is, why urgency to spend another $300 billion towards that when you got $60 billion that hasn't gone out? Don't you think we ought to find out what happened? Why are we not able to get into that type of a chain to where we're able to make sure that the administration is able to disperse the money that get it to where it needs to be helped?
Clean energy provisions that are in this bill, they would use tax incentives and carbon capture technology to try to cut emissions in half and make the electric grid 80% clean energy by 2030. Do you support that?
Let me tell you this. Let's look at where we've come in the last 20 years. In 2000, year 2000, 52% of our electricity came from coal. Only about 16% came from natural gas, and only about 9.5% came from renewables. 20 years to date. Okay, 2020, 19% from coal, 40% from natural gas, and up to 20% for renewables. The transition is happening. Now they're wanting to pay companies to do what they're already doing. Makes no sense to me at all for us to take billions of dollars and pay utilities for what they're going to do as the market transitions. We've proven that, and we will continue to transition. They're accelerating something that could be very, very vulnerable to the reliability of this country.
So it sounds like a no. You don't support the provisions.
Makes no sense at all.
Okay.